This is the Sabbath School lesson for the third quarter, 2021.
Lesson 11 from the series Rest in Christ is titled Longing for More. It's ready for teaching on September 11, and I'm Percy Harrold. Sunday, September 5. Baptized into Moses. Question, read 1 Corinthians 10, 1-11. What did Paul want to communicate to his readers in Corinth when he referred to examples? 1 Corinthians chapter 10, beginning at verse 1. Moreover, brethren, I do not want you to be unaware that all our fathers were under the cloud, all passed through the sea, all were baptized into Moses in the cloud and in the sea, all ate the same spiritual food, and all drank the same spiritual drink. For they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Christ. But with most of them God was not well pleased, for their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. Now these things became our examples, to the intent that we should not lust after evil things as they also lusted, and do not become idolaters, as were some of them. As it is written, the people sat down to eat and drink and rose up to play. Nor let us commit sexual immorality, as some of them did, and in one day 23,000 fell. Nor let us tempt Christ, as some of them also tempted, and were destroyed by serpents. Nor complain, as some of them also complained, and were destroyed by the destroyer. Now all these things happened to them as examples, and they were written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the ages have come. The Greek term used in 1 Corinthians 10 verse 6, and also adapted in a similar form in verse 11, translated as example in most English translations, is typos, T-Y-P-O-S. In English, the word type is based on this Greek noun. A type, or example, is never the original, but some kind of symbol or representation of it. It is a model of something else. Hebrews 8:5 offers a good example of this kind of relationship. They, the priests of the Old Testament temple service, serve a copy and shadow of the heavenly things. For when Moses was about to erect the tent, he was instructed by God, saying, "See that you make everything according to the pattern that was shown you on the mountain." This passage in Hebrews highlights the direct link between heavenly and earthly realities, and then it quotes Exodus 25 verse 9, where God told Moses to build the wilderness sanctuary according to the pattern, according to all that I show you, that is, the pattern of the tabernacle and the pattern of all its furnishings, just so you shall make it. The point is that the earthly sanctuary, with all its rituals and procedures, were examples, symbols, and models of what is going on in heaven, with Jesus as our high priest in the heavenly sanctuary. With this in mind, we can better understand what Paul was talking about in 1 Corinthians 10. In these verses, Paul revisits some of the key experiences of God's people in the wilderness on their way to the promised land. Our fathers refers to their Jewish ancestors who left Egypt, were under the cloud, passed through the sea, and thus were all baptized into a new life of freedom from slavery. Paul considers these important stations of the wilderness journey a type or an example of individual baptism. In the footsteps of Paul's logic, the reference to spiritual food must refer to manna. And we're going to read about that again in Exodus chapter 16, verses 31-35. And the house of Israel called its name manna, and it was like white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. Then Moses said, "This is the thing which the Lord has commanded. Fill an omer with it, to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread with which I fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you out of the land of Egypt." And Moses said to Aaron, "Take a pot, and put an omer of manna in it, and lay it up before the Lord, to be kept for your generations." As the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony to be kept. And the children of Israel ate manna for 40 years, until they came to an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. Israel drank from the rock which Paul identifies as Christ, and we saw that in 1 Corinthians 10 verse 4. Think of Jesus, for example, as the bread of life, as we read in John 6:48. I am the bread of life, and as the living water of John 4 verse 10. Jesus answered and said to her, if you knew the gift of God and who it is who says to you, give me a drink, you would have asked him, and he would have given you living water. And this all makes perfect sense. Thus, what we see here is Paul's use of Old Testament history as an example of revealing spiritual truths that can be applied to individual Christians today. And so to finish today, think back on the experience of the Israelites in the Exodus. What spiritual lessons can we learn from their examples, both the good and the bad, that they left us? This lesson was read by Dr. Percy Harrold for Christian Services for the Blind. It's supported by the Sabbath School Department and Hope Channel Australia, and is rebroadcast by Christian Record Services and through podcasts at It Is Written in the United States, Hope Channel Germany, and through Apple iTunes and SoundCloud. Remember, God is always faithful.